Hello again. It's almost like we were just here. We're back. Sorry for the technical issue. I don't know what happened. I had to reboot my internet, but we're going to give it a go again. Seabass joins us. We're going to talk Vandy Auburn. We're going to talk whatever he wants to talk about. We got about 45 minutes to get this done in. With that, reminder, we're brought to you by our friends at Raymond James and former Vandy kicker Joe Bulovas with Bulovas Wealth Management. If there's one thing we all share, it's our lives are all unique. At Raymond James, we believe that's worth celebrating because financial planning isn't just about numbers and figures. It's about creating the life you envision. Whether you're building a future or preparing for retirement, a Raymond James financial advisor can guide you through each step of the way, all while following a plan that is uniquely yours. That is life well planned. To learn more, call financial advisor Joe Bulovas with Bulovas Wealth Management of Raymond James at number 615-645-6742. Raymond James and Associates, members of New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. Basketball season brought to you by the Wash House. Commodores, it is time to win back your weekend. Skip the laundry pile. Let the Wash House Laundry Center handle that for you. Our new pickup and delivery service covers all of Nashville, so we'll grab your laundry, wash, dry, fold, and deliver it right back to your door. That leaves you more time for tailgates, highlights, victory celebrations. Schedule your first pickup today at washhouseclean.com. The Wash House Laundry Center, the official way to stay fresh on game day. My man, I hope this works. We've got a torrential downpour outside. We're under a tornado watch, I'm told, and Oreo is just going off about something in the background. So God knows where this is headed.
Careful.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Lee, let me tell you something, brother. First of all, be safe. That's the first thing I want to say. And I got a special message for you, DJ Durkin. I know you're trying to get a head coaching job. In 22 hours, you're going to come to Nashville, Tennessee, and you're going to learn the hard way, brother. You're headed back to the unemployment line.
How am I supposed to follow that?
Afternoon, Chris. How are you? Anchor
Man,
down, brother.
It's good. It's good to have you. It's good to have you back.
Yes, yeah, it's good to be back.
There's just an element to this show that is not present if you're not here.
I've been trying to tell you that. I'm waiting on the check to clear. That's all.
Well,
let's do this.
Yeah, that's not lost on me. But anyway, yeah, thank God we got some time today. Hope this is okay on everybody's end. But yeah, where would you like to start? Big game for Vanderbilt tomorrow. We got the college football ranking. That's now public. Vanderbilt is 16th. Your thoughts on any and all of it? 16th, excuse me. Your thoughts on any and all of that?
I think 16 is about right, and that's fine. I'm good with that at this point. The question begs: do we control our fate? I don't know. I mean, is it a guarantee that if we go 10-2, are we in? I'd like to think so, but it depends how some other dominoes fall. I don't think there's any question about that. But I want to remind everybody, it's November the 7th, and we're having the conversation of, do we still have enough to make it into the CFP? I mean, that is not a conversation that I expected to have with you before the season started. I expected a good season. I did not expect that type of narrative. But I would say this to you. Now, I take nothing for granted whatsoever, but I feel very good about tomorrow. I do. I feel very good about tomorrow in a couple of different ways. I think Vanderbilt absolutely bounces back. They've proven that when Tuscaloosa happened, we wondered, boy, did that mess up some things? The fragility of this team, is it going to show its head eventually? And I submit to you that it's not there. I submit to you that this team will have a bounce back, just like they did after Tuscaloosa. They went on and to beat an LSU team who is obviously not what we thought they would be, but then won an absolute bloodbath of a game against Missouri last Saturday in Austin. Did not turn out the way we wanted. I would also say to you that was not nearly our best effort. And I fully expect a bounce back. I really do. Not because I want it to happen, but I expect it to happen. And as I look at these two teams, and I've seen, of course, every game that Vanderbilt's played and several of the Auburn games, Vanderbilt's simply the better football team here. It's about execution at this point.
I think they win, but we're on the opposite end of the confidence scale here.
Okay, tell me why.
Because I wonder what it looks like once Hugh Freeze is out of the mix there. What adjustments does they make on offense? They have speed. You saw how Texas beat them. I know they've not gotten the ball to those guys all year, but is it a hard adjustment to change to a quick passing game and have the guys get rid of the ball? I mean, maybe if you throw 30 screens and everybody's sitting on it, one of those comes back to the house. I get that, but it feels to me like making some adjustments. And look, you played football. I didn't. You tell me. It feels like making some adjustments to hit Vanderbilt where it hurts. And especially if those are quick throws, you don't have the issues with the pressure up the middle. They've got an inexperienced center. I can name all the reasons Vanderbilt can give Auburn fits, but I can also name some pivots that Auburn can make that seem simple. Now, look, on the other hand, if it was that simple, why didn't they make them already? I don't know. Again, maybe that's Hugh Freeze being stubborn, but that's my concern.
Well, full disclosure, and you know this well, some may not. I used to host the Hugh Freeze show. I've known Hugh for a long time.
Right.
Now, if we're look, you know, I don't know what happened with Hugh in this offense this year and last little bit. But am I going to take defensive coach DJ Durkin, fire Hugh Freeze, and I'm going to bring in DJ Durkin, and the offense is going to get better? Am I going to get beat by Ashton Daniels? I've seen a lot better quarterbacks than Ashton Daniels this year. Only way Auburn's winning this game is if they Jeremiah Cobb their way to a victory. And I would remind you that in every game except for the Arkansas game, and that's really more about Arkansas than Auburn, as far as SEC plays, the most points they have been able to scratch off is 17. That's the least 14 against Alabama. That might be right there at the bottom of the barrel of that we played against much better football teams. Yeah. I don't see any way that Ashton Daniels wins this game for you. So it's all about Cobb. You shut down Cobb, what are they going to do?
Hey, look, you may be right. Maybe they come out tomorrow and they win it 31-3. I don't know. I just am not. I'm not nearly as confident about them winning the game as I would have been a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's why. But see, there you go. Your trepidation is not about Auburn. It's about Vanderbilt. I think. I mean, I can't walk inside your head.
It's both.
Let me just say this. If Vanderbilt, let's just live in a world. Now, this is not real life, but let's live in a world in which Vanderbilt recovered that kick, okay? And they get in there. Brock Taylor bangs a 57-yarder, and they go into overtime and win that game. You're not even blinking about this Vanderbilt-Auburn game. You're just not. You know, and I know that's me talking for you, and I That's my interpretation of it. If Vanderbilt had won that game in Austin, we wouldn't be having this type of conversation.
No, I disagree. We would still be having this conversation.
Why?
Look at how many games are close every week in this league.
You really think that Hugh Freeze is the reason for the struggles on the offensive side of the ball, but DJ Durkin can fix that?
They cannot possibly get any worse on offense. That's all I'm saying. They have talent. They have players. There are some days that it just clicks, and maybe you catch a team like Georgia State last year. Like Georgia State hadn't played a game like that in 2 years. They caught him on the wrong day. Did Vanderbilt have a lot to do with that? Yes, but let me go back and look at their schedule. But I mean, like an inordinate amount of these games were close, man. Like even with their offense being awful, they still won some games, and they were that close in some
I
others.
get you. You don't have to go to schedule. I've got to memorize it. Here's the thing. They've given, and I think somebody on the board might even mention something about it. The most they've given up in conference play was that 24, right? Is that right? All right. So I don't have an illusion of school. I'm not talking about 31-3, but you know, I feel very confident that if Vanderbilt can put up 31 points against LSU and 17 points against the Missouri defense, that I will take over almost anybody in this conference. Well, you know, 17 is not a ton of points, but you know. I mean, you just
Lost
said
to
it yourself.
Oklahoma.
And here's the
Well, I
thing.
mean,
Think about this for a second. When in the world, in all of his career, we can look, don't get me wrong, Hugh had to go, and I get all that. And I don't know what's going on with him or whatever the case may be, but in what world did Hugh Freeze ever struggle with offense and scoring points? All the way coming back to when he was here in Jackson as the head coach at Lambeth, when he was at Briarcrest, when he went to Arkansas State, when he went to Ole Miss, when he went to Liberty. Did he ever have problems scoring points? He didn't forget how to run an offense.
I think the game caught up to him.
How
I mean, you
so?
got to have an explanation. I mean, look,
But we always say
they've
that.
been
But what does that
abysmal
mean? The game
offensively for
caught up
2
to him.
years. I think when he was running the stuff he ran at Ole Miss, tempo offense wasn't a big thing. Teams weren't as used to doing it. Maybe they just did some stuff that teams like. You grow up in a different environment now. If you're a football player, all the 7-on-7 stuff, all the high speed offenses, all the tempo stuff, you see it in high school. I don't know the nuances of his system where it differs from other people, but like you
Right.
look at what you're seeing teams do now. Now teams are slowing down and going back to the huddle. It seems like something has been figured out. I'm not the one to tell you what that is, but I mean, just look at the scoreboard, man. They've been abysmal offensively for the whole time he's been at Auburn.
And I don't.
And
And the thing about
let me
him,
add one more thing. Let me add one more
okay,
thing.
go ahead.
It, you know, I've got friends that cover the Ole Miss beat, and they were saying back then, like, look, I think it was about to, the juice was about to be gone from all that. They thought that Ole Miss was about to struggle. They thought, and they said this before he ever started at Auburn. They had doubts about the hire. I don't know if it's the game had caught up to him. He wasn't putting in the time. I don't know what the reasons were. Now it did work at Liberty. I get that, but there were some doubts heading into his tenure at Auburn.
Yeah, I'll just say this. He beat Nick Saban twice in a row, nearly 3 times, and in a couple of those put up a ton of points. I submit to you that this is more, and look, this is part of the job. This is part of his job too, so I appreciate that, and I'll hold him to that. To me, this is about personnel. Let me give an example, and this is not a shot by any stretch of the imagination, but if I were to ask you, let's say tomorrow, give me a number of how many points that Vanderbilt scores with Diego Pavia as the quarterback or Blaze Berlowitz as the quarterback. Think about Hugh. I mean, even going back to Ole Miss and the quarterbacks he had there, and then Malik what's his name, Willis,
Willis.
at Liberty. He's kept all that time off. He's always kept good quarterbacks. Not been anything overly special there on the Plains. And I think that's kind of caught up with him. That is his job to find somebody to pull that trigger. I get that. But, I mean, well, let me ask you this. Would you rather have Diego Pavia or Jackson Arnold running your offense?
Well, I mean, look, that's the easiest question I'll answer all day. But here's the thing. Jackson Arnold was a top 10 recruit in his class. Cam Coleman was a top 5 player in his class 2 years ago. Singleton, everybody in the country wanted Eric Singleton last year when he went in the portal. Their third guy, I can't even think of his name off the top of my head. He was talented. Malcolm Simmons, I think, is talented. I'm just telling you, I get that those guys have not done much, but it feels to me like it's a development issue. And by the way, all those games you just said, those happened a decade or more ago, man. I just think something has happened where the game has caught up and he never adjusted. I don't know what it is. I just look at the scoreboard and it is night and day difference at Auburn and what he did at Ole Miss.
How long is this his 4th year at Auburn? Is that
Third, I think. Third.
something like that? He didn't have a problem putting up points at Liberty, did he? I mean, the game wasn't too far ahead of him at that point.
Yeah, but Conference USA is awful.
Everything's relative. He's got a Conference USA roster. So, and I'm not trying to be argumentative here with you. I get it.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
I think this is about personnel, but again, I freely admit that's on him too. But who was more highly recruited, David Corral or Jay Cutler?
David Corral, I think.
So that's why I say all that to say we can use that as a reference if you want to, but that's not a guarantee of anything. I think we've both seen plenty of highly recruited quarterbacks that flame out and never do a thing.
Well, it's all neither here. My point is they had guys that other teams wanted, and a lot of other teams wanted. He didn't do anything with them. I don't think whatever happens with DJ Durkin, it's going to look better than the 3 points they put up against Kentucky.
Maybe. I mean, maybe it depends on
Hey,
what that looks like.
maybe we rewatch this time tomorrow, and I've just spouted out some of the dumbest stuff I've ever said. That is a complete possibility.
I have a hard time believing that the only thing holding this Auburn offense back has been Hugh Freeze. I mean,
Well,
and they just needed a defensive coordinator to come in and show them how to run the offense. I mean
yeah,
that would stun me. This is a team that just outside of Cobb and they've got one receiver, so I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Cam Coleman.
That's done all right. Yeah, I mean, I think he's somewhere around 400 or 500 yards receiving on the season, which is fine. It is what it is. But this is clearly, I look at this team, and as I said a minute ago, you stop Jeremiah Cobb, they're not scoring. And so, and I did happen to look at the mailbag just a minute ago, just for a second, because I know we're short on time, and somebody was asking along the lines of, "Are we just wearing down, or is something happening? Is a talent gap?" And I said, okay, well, let's see. You had LSU, Missouri, and Texas back to back to back. Chris, I don't care what the records are. Those are three of the better defenses around.
100%.
There's no doubt about that. And Auburn's got a heck of a defense itself. But the difference between Auburn and those other three teams have shown me the ability to score points this year. Outside of that first game against Baylor in week number 1, I think it was 38-24. If I remember, Auburn went on the road and won against Baylor. Other than that, they've shown nothing, because the Arkansas, as I said, the Arkansas thing wasn't about Auburn. It was about Arkansas. Arkansas gives up those type of points to everybody. So that doesn't. They didn't magically. Oh, they got it all figured out, because after that game they went right back to 17 and under, 17 or 10. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I feel very confident about telling you one thing: Auburn scores 10 points tomorrow. Vanderbilt will walk out of that game 8-2.
I've never thought
I'm not
about
saying
this.
they're going to score 30-something points, but Vanderbilt, I trust Vanderbilt implicitly to put up anywhere between 17 and 24 points at least, which in my estimation would be good enough to win that game tomorrow.
Okay, you mentioned the stretch of defenses they've had. LSU, Missouri, and forget LSU what it did last time out. That's an aberration. Those guys quit. Remember what it was before. LSU, Missouri, Texas, and now Auburn.
Yeah.
I don't think any team in the country will face a 4-game stretch of defenses as good as that.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't know who that would be.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I mean, we look at this and we say, well, is our offense breaking down? I don't think so. I don't think so. And in full disclosure, because I know we have very little time today, at looking some of those questions and people, and one of the questions was, has Vanderbilt started to, they talk about last year this time and some of the struggles we had. And I think we need to remember something. After that Kentucky game in which Diego got popped, and by the way, heroically kept going, he was never the same in the regular season. Never. What happened? When did you see the real Diego Pavia come back? When he had a month to rest on that. And I was in Birmingham, and that was the real Diego, the one that we'd saw in the first half of the season, pretty much before he got popped in Lexington. And it was clear, Chris, it was clear. Diego, he muscled it out, but that wasn't the same Diego beforehand, the one that played against Alabama. He was playing heroically, but he was not 100%. And when he got 100%, he destroyed Georgia Tech's offense, and he comes into the regular season this year 100%, and you see the same thing happening. If there were any struggles there in Austin or any way, I don't think it's the same thing as last year. Last year was about Diego's health. Now people may disagree with that, but I know I'm right about it. But if I'm wrong about it, I wouldn't have seen what I saw in Birmingham, and Diego looks fantastic down there.
Well, on that, I don't think I will, but I could argue their toughest game the rest of the season is tomorrow. And here's the world in which that happens. Okay. Look at what's going on at Tennessee. Where does that go? Do they get beat by Florida? What kind of mood is everybody in Knoxville in when they get there? What kind of mood is the team in? Does it have anything to play for? And you mentioned rest. Guess what's next weekend?
Bye week.
Rest. before you
Yeah,
get
I
Kentucky.
would.
I'm just saying they'll playing Kentucky will take some off that, but you're home, you're not traveling. Auburn and Tennessee can give them fits in very different ways, very complete and total opposite ways. But when you bring up the topic of rest, that's fair, and they are about to get some as soon as tomorrow is done.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And of course, it's interesting because we're saying, okay, this is our toughest game of the final three, but that may depend on what two other teams that facing each other do. Because what if
Yeah.
Tennessee wins down in the, of course, now they're off this week and they get New Mexico State, right? They'll win that game however they want to, pile up a bunch of numbers, maybe get a little confidence back. So, but are we saying that the toughness of that game in Knoxville depends upon what happens in Gainesville? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean that's a logical conclusion to draw to, but let's think about something. Now, I promise you, it matters way more to those people up in the stands than it does down on the field about trying to teach Vanderbilt a lesson. A lot of that roster doesn't care about. That's just the next team. For those people in the stands, we're little brother. You just can't let this happen. We're making inroads and in-state players for 27 and 28 that could be difference makers, and there's no way they want to let that happen. I would be surprised if that happens, but look, here's the situation. Tennessee has a problem when they go into the swamp. If you're facing Florida, Chris, you're facing Florida. When they have the football, what are you trying to stop?
DJ Lagway.
Yeah. No, they're not going to Lagway their win the games.
You're trying to stop the Wilson kids and Jaden Ball, right?
Yeah, it's Ball. You have if he has success, Florida can have success. What is the thing that Tennessee does by far the worst as a football team right now?
Stop anybody.
Defending the run. They can't stop the run. Yeah. They have when healthy, their secondary is excellent, but they cannot stop the run. When I had a lot of people calling me after the Tennessee Georgia game on the show, and they were like, "Oh, Max Gilbert cost us. All you got to do is make a field goal." And I said, "Look, Max Gilbert, he doesn't need me to defend him. That's one field goal. But I would remind you that when that game went into overtime, on the very first play that Georgia had the football, what'd they do? They pounded that ball right there between the tackles and got down to the 1 yard line on the first play because everybody in that Dead Blame Stadium knew that Tennessee cannot stop the run. They simply cannot stop it. And Ball should eat them up. We'll see what happens with Tennessee. I agree that they're fragile right here, but I can't imagine them, even if we are 9-2 and they are whatever it looks like, probably 8-3, maybe we'll see 7-4. You never know. I can't imagine we're not going to get the best that they have. And look, at the end of the day, their trifecta of receivers is still very, very good.
Very, very good. Yeah. And I still, for the record, think Tennessee will be their toughest game, but they've also got a massive Boo Carter problem on their hand.
Man, this is a guy, look, he's a guy that returns punts. That's all. Kicks. That's pretty.
No. I mean, the locker room there is pretty.
No, I understand that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, how much flexibility am I willing to give to a guy who's basically just a special teams guy? I mean, look.
I agree.
If you're talking about your best player, leading tackler, first round type of this, what has Boo Carter really contributed to that team? Nothing. So, I mean, I don't know why they let it go on. He is, but I don't know why they let it go on.
Yeah. Well, that's another. I just think that game is a complete wild card. I think tomorrow's a complete wild card. And look, Kentucky. Hey, Kentucky almost beat Texas, went down and beat Auburn. That one's not a walk in the park either, my man.
No, and I never said it was, and I never inferred that because I hear you, and I agree with you on that. I just think, look, I think that when Vanderbilt is playing well, when they're in their offense, this is a team who has proven they can run the football on people, they can throw the football on people, and at times can be fairly stingy defensively. They just have fewer holes in their boat than most teams. And, look, Kentucky's played hard, and ever since they sent Calzada to the bench, they look a little better. But they're also a team who has a ton of problems scoring points. There's no doubt about that. That was a rough game to watch down in Auburn last week. You have to really love SEC football or just be a defensive-minded type of guy because it's crap
cover
football.
it for a living.
Yeah, you're a crap football game here. But no, I'm not taking. Listen, I'm not taking anybody, not Auburn, not Kentucky, not Tennessee for granted. I will say this: in all three of those football games, regardless of where they play, I really, not because I want it to be true, but I would, from an analysis standpoint, I would say that Vanderbilt was the more.
Hey, man, you're frozen on my end, and I'm getting about every third or fourth word. If you guys are in the chat, let me know if that's him or
Stop.
that's just me.
Stay.
Hey. Are you still there? Yeah. Hey, can you hear me? Yeah, people tell me you've got an issue with your on your end with the tech. While you're doing that, I'm gonna read the mailbag ad here, and maybe this will clear up a minute. The mailbag is presented by Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If you are a loved one that's been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call. That number, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. Our guest line
Talking to me, I'm going to jump through that.
What?
Cell phone and smack you with the wet lip.
All right. Hey,
Lizard.
My guys are telling me my video and audio are clear and yours is not.
Nothing?
All right, pop back in. Anyway, the mailbag is presented by our friends at Sutherland and Belk. That is a family-owned injury law firm. If your loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor or Russell a call, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. Guest line presented by John Levin and Womble Bond Dickinson. Also, Yeaman Packaging Systems, leaders in end-of-the-line packaging automation. They're friends of the show. We appreciate them. I'm going to send my man. I'm going to see if he can pop back in. Maybe he'll try that on his own. If not, what I will do here is I will take the mailbag on my own, and we will end the podcast that way. Amberjack Door wants to know thoughts on further stadium expansion. I like the idea. I think maybe, I don't know, 45, 50,000 to me is the number. If you can get a deck on both sides, have it really close to the field, make it an environment where the fans are kind of on top of you. I'd put the student section ideally placed in that whole thing. I think, to me, I don't know. Clark has said 50 or 60,000. To me, that feels like that's a lot. Anyway, but we'll see. I think it definitely needs more than that. I think my man has come back. There we go. Hey.
So then she comes in there, and I said, "Look, I'm Rick James." I don't know what happened. You started buffering and you went away. You asked me if I was still talking the whole time to you. I could see you the whole time, and it just didn't work out in our favor. Can you see me now?
I can. The folks are telling me it's on your end that I was fine. So anyway.
How do they know? They may be right. I just got a cell phone on a phone stand. That's the extent of my tech, if you will.
We're
we
lucky
don't
we have that much.
rain. I think it could be. Maybe it could be the weather. Could be. I'm not sure.
Too. We're having a thunderstorm here. Yeah, the question was thoughts on stadium expansion. What do you think here?
Boy, that's interesting. I saw that. I got to be honest with you. That Missouri game You know, the LSU game, the Missouri game, the atmosphere. I just don't know how it can get more perfect than that for us. You know, because
they could have put more of their fans in the stadium, I think, with more seats.
They could, but how many? Could we do another 20,000? What are we talking about? 15, 20,000? I don't know. To me, it was kind of perfect the way that it was. But if we can continue to pack that in and have, I mean, look, I'm not anti-expansion as long as we can fill that thing up. You know, look, and as I said a couple of weeks ago, look, the reality is a lot of people before the season started sold their tickets to the LSU, Missouris, and all these of the world. And the question is now that, especially if we continue to this great season, whether we go 9-3, 10-2, make the playoffs, whatever the case may be, I would like to think, Chris, and especially since your Preds and your Titans are trash right now, and Vanderbilt football is the most exciting sports thing going on in the city, I would like to think that a lot of those folks are not going to sell those tickets to those folks next time around. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And would you say, let me ask you this, would you say that Vanderbilt is, in fact, now Nashville's team? Are they looked at that way?
What do you mean by that?
Well, because we've never been Nashville's team in Nashville. I mean, look, remember, there's nobody coming to our games except other fans. But now, when you are the talk of the town, the toast of the town, when you have the chance to make the CFP, when you got all these transient people who've come into the city, and they don't know
oh boy. Wait. Oh boy. I like the look of the way this is frozen. I don't know what it looks like on everybody's end, but my man is puckering up in front of the camera here.
Was this team that they got there in Nashville's excited, and they're going to play an SEC.
I'm not sure anybody heard that, but we're going to move to the next question, which is Woody Ball. Won't be a popular question. Here we go. The chances of the SEC getting 5 teams in the playoff. I think it's our only chance of getting in. Currently have 6 teams in front of us in the SEC standings, assuming Texas and Oklahoma both lose again. That still puts 4 teams with no losses or 1 loss ahead of us. Even at 10-2, we would need the committee to take 5 SEC teams. Yes, you would. I'm also a little concerned about a 3-loss Texas getting in ahead of a 2-loss Vandy. I don't know how the committee will look at it. Maybe they'll say, hey, that game was in Texas. It was a field goal. Maybe they'll say Texas won head-to-head. Tough luck. But Texas will have more big wins at that point because it would have to get at 3 losses, either Georgia or A&M and Vandy head-to-head. Vanderbilt's loss is the issue Vanderbilt's going to have, I think, if it gets under a microscope for that last spot, is that the wins that you had may not have the luster that some of them had at the time. The schedule, Virginia Tech wasn't as good as people thought. South Carolina wasn't as good as people thought. LSU, we'll see how that finishes. 9-3 LSU, or 8-4. Okay, that's a trophy. 7-5 LSU, maybe not. Missouri, same thing. We'll see how that goes with Missouri. Next one. What do you make of the offensive line struggles the last 2 games? I think we hit that earlier, and he blamed it on the teams that Vanderbilt's played. I think that's certainly got to be part of it with the defenses they've had. Gillsmaster, how is Notre Dame ahead of Vanderbilt? I think that's just a case of quality of team. A lot of people think, just right now, line them up, play them against each other. There aren't 5 teams better than Notre Dame potentially. My guess is that's where that came from. So, let's see. McCain 31, ceiling for the basketball team. Oh, hey. You were just kind of waiting.
What are you doing here? I got about 5 minutes.
Filling time because your tech sucks. That's what I'm doing here.
How about this? Your face sucks instead. Let's call it that. Now, a couple things here real quick. First of all, I did see the one about, were you talking about the Miami question? I mean, the Notre Dame question?
Yeah.
All right, so it's kind of interesting. Some of these things line up if you look at it. So Vanderbilt's 2 losses are to Alabama and Texas on the road, and Notre Dame's losses are to Miami and Texas A&M. There are no bad losses for either one of these teams.
Right.
Question is, where do the wins stack up? Vanderbilt has, and look, hey, I'm going to tell you something right now. And a lot of people don't look at it this way. They say, well, it ends up being how you finish. Vanderbilt has 3 wins over teams who were top 15 in the country when they played them. So, y'all slice it however you want. I could one of those a top 15 wins. Only fair. I think at the end of the day, I don't see a whole lot of difference with Notre Dame, the win over USC, and destroyed Arkansas. And most even the good teams in SEC haven't really destroyed Arkansas. They've beaten them in higher scoring affairs. Notre Dame went to Fayetteville and beat the crap out of them. I think it was 56-13 or 54-13 or something like that. Notre Dame's been walking the high wire act ever since the second week of the season. Have no wiggle room there. But I don't know if it's perception or what, but I don't think there's a whole ton of difference between the two. Do you?
I don't know. You look at power rankings, which are usually pretty close to lines. Right now, Notre Dame probably be a 7 or 8 point favorite on a neutral field.
Who would you put your money on in that? Just out of curiosity, I know you're not a gambling man, but if you were, and it was a 7-point line, Notre Dame favored. Who cares where they play neutral field? What field? Well, I don't care where it is. Let's just, so they're down in New Orleans, all right, and they're playing. It's Notre Dame versus Vanderbilt. Line of 7 points. I give you for $10,000 in it. Who you putting it
on? Tell me which Vanderbilt shows up. The team that tackled the way it tackled the first 6 games or so, or the team that's tackled like it's tackled since? Because you got Jeremiah Love to deal with, and he's a problem.
You got Jeremiah Love, you've got Carr, you've got what's it? Great House is the name, I think it is. They've got weapons. There's no doubt about it. Can we beat them? Sure. Vanderbilt beat anybody in the country if they're playing well. But I honestly, I'm not going to lose sleep over that at the end of it all. We'll see what happens. I know somebody was asking about the possibilities of, even if we get the 2 losses, if we end up with 2 losses, that we still would be on the outside looking in, even if there was 5 SEC teams, or the opportunity to get them in. Man, I don't know. We just got to see it all. There's so many variables at play here and matchups that some of these people are going to fall to the wayside between now and then. We're 16? So we need a little help there, at least at the moment, but I don't know. I tend to still believe that I think some other people are going to fall by the wayside, and that this team ends at 10-2. And to me, honestly, the best part is we're not playing in the SEC championship now. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to in the first place, unless we were a 1-loss team. So I'm good with that. I think it'll all work itself out. Do I think there's anything unfair about Notre Dame being ahead of them? No, not really.
Question about the ceiling for the basketball team. Have you seen them play yet?
I've not seen them play yet. When they played, I was on the air. I'm following, obviously, the box score. And of course, God, man, I know it's one game, and I understand that. And there's a whole lot of pitfalls to come. But a couple things here. Is this a fair statement? The Southeastern Conference is not the conference it was last year.
Probably not, but that's the best conference maybe in the history of the sport, other than the Big East had some just banner years back when. But they're in the discussion. Now, I think they're still really good. And you're frozen again. I will say this while I'm waiting for his connection to come back. If it does, I think this is the high ceiling team Vanderbilt basketball has had since the last team, Stallings' last really great team with Jeff Taylor, Jenkins, that bunch, Festus Ezeli. I think this team, and look, now that's not a gargantuan bar to clear, because they have, not been good more often than not, have been mediocre at best. Had some teams that got in the tournament. In fact, they haven't won was that the last year they won an NCAA tournament game? I think it might be. So I want to see more. I want to see how they handle teams with the post presence, what happens with Nicholson when he gets back. But I am 90% sure this is the highest ceiling team they've had since that team. That was that 11, 12? I don't remember now. Pessimistic door. This time last year, the team started to falter and lose out. Do you see any cracks that suggest this team is playing its worst football and follow a similar trend? I think this team is better than that team. At the same time, yeah, you've seen cracks. You saw cracks against Texas last week. You saw some cracks in the defense and tackling against, LSU. The offense has not been playing consistently at the level that it played at earlier ever since the Alabama game. So, yeah, about out of time here. Quarterback question from Zach. It's kind of a long one. I'm going to see if I can condense this into something I can answer in a few seconds. Basically, the question is, would you rather have Jared Curtis or a top 3 quarterback in the portal? Oh, boy, that's a tough one. Maybe Curtis, because I think if you sign him, he stays a while, based on what I've heard. And he's supposed to be a generational guy. But I don't know. A lot of guys like that, hey, doesn't work out in the NFL a lot of times for first-round picks. So do that with high school to college, and it's a risk. An Anchor Down, 2401 points out. Signing Curtis would bring in other top recruits from this class with a domino effect. That also would be true. All right, I think we're done for the day. My man is out of the studio. I guess his connection is crapped out for good. So thank you guys for watching. Reminder that the show has always been free. We always plan for it to be free. Here's what you can do to help us keep it that way. Give the podcast a review and a 5-star rating wherever you do your podcast rating and listening. If you're listening to and have not subscribed to the Vandy 24/7 website, do that. $99 a year helps us tremendously. Our Vandy 24/7 YouTube channel, a subscription to that is free. Just hit the subscribe button, costs you nothing. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, give me a shout, chrislee70@gmail.com. All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you again soon with more episodes of the Vandy 24/7 podcast. God bless you. Have a great weekend. You've been watching Vandy 24/7, presented by FanDuel.